Dr. Cooks, Supervisor Winsburg County. How's it going?
It's going good. It's going good.
What, 3.5 years later, we're back here at the table?
Yes.
You look nice. It's good to have you here.
Thank you. And I appreciate you guys for allowing me to do this with you today.
Absolutely. You know, we had to get you back in here to talk about it. It's an election year.
Yes, it is.
But, you know, let me say this. One of the things I like about it is even though it's an election year, we see you on the ground continuously. I got to preface this interview by saying I thought I was a hardworking woman. I thought I was everywhere in the community, but this woman, you're gonna see her in mud boots. You're gonna see her in Converses. You're gonna see her in heels. You're gonna see her in flats because she's on the ground working.
Right. That's right.
And since I've been here, I moved back home in 2003. I've yet to see a supervisor that has been so hands-on and everywhere in the county. And so I just want to thank you for that.
Thank you so much. I am a leader that believes in I lead by example. So I'm never going to tell my people to do something that I'm not willing to do myself.
Absolutely. And you're an Army veteran too,
Yes,
right?
I am.
You know, I'm a Marine veteran. There's something about these veterans.
Yes.
We lead by example.
That's right.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, you know, when I talked to you, 3.5 years ago, you made a bunch of promises before you took office when you were campaigning for this office. And I'm happy to say that you actually made those promises come to fruition. You weren't one of those persons that was just speaking jargon just to get elected. But I think that you can tell us better than I can. Tell us some of the things, your biggest challenges that you faced while you've been in office and some of your biggest wins since you've been in office thus far.
Wow. You know, we came in a time where, first of all, being accepted as a female in this role created its own set of challenges, and we'll talk about that later. But we came in this office in a time at which, and it was funny because my first week in the job, my finance chief resigned. So I was kind of left like, wow, you know, okay, what are we gonna do? Then the bills start coming in. So I was like, you know what? It's time for us to readjust and figure out what we need to be doing to stay ahead of the game. And again, we were faced with financial challenges. We had legal issues. We had a number of things that were going on that literally kind of just hit me dead on my first few weeks. And
welcome to the job.
Exactly. Welcome. And, you know, I had no idea we were under these types of issues.
Yeah.
But even still, and I always, you know, kind of refer to us, we were like the phoenix, we still rose. And we were met with also a natural disaster at that time, which was one of the hurricanes, Dorian, that came through.
Oh, yeah.
And then right after Dorian, you know, a nationwide pandemic. My goodness, it was like, okay, now where does it stop? You know, okay, I'm ready to get off the ride now. But
you know, one of my favorite sayings is "You're built for this." And I guess life was trying to see if you were actually built for this.
Oh yeah, it threw everything at me but the kitchen sink.
Yeah.
But we met those challenges with a good response.
Absolutely.
And we were able to keep the county going in spite of everything that we were experiencing. Working along with the team members I have, that team, I tell you, I owe it all to them because they really pulled it together. You know, my department heads, my elected officials, my county council members, they pulled it together and we were able to do some really good things. So my biggest challenges was really just getting people to trust the process. People think that when you get in a position that you are to correct every single thing.
Wait a minute. You mean you can't do hocus pocus, abracadabra, voila, it's fixed?
Exactly. I don't walk on water, in spite of what some people may say.
You can't part the Red Sea?
No, I can't part the Red Sea.
Okay, all right, man.
But so we were dealing with not only current things that were going on, we were dealing with issues that we had to correct from decades ago.
Yeah.
So simultaneously, we were making new moves and correcting old moves.
Absolutely.
So,
you know, a lot of things I realized that were just kicked down the road until now you can't kick it any further and you have to deal with it. And a lot of times citizens are blindsided. And I don't get upset with the citizens when they have misconstrued information because I was on the other side where I wasn't privy to certain information. But I think that, you know, there's a saying that says trust but verify.
That's right.
And so I try to encourage everyone within my district and within the county to verify information because a lot of times is misconstrued, and it's not often factual.
That's right.
So we were just my last year and a half, year 3.5 years. We've dealt with a lot of challenges, and I'm here to say that, like you said, like the Phoenix sun, we rose. COVID-19 definitely was not a plus, but one thing I can say about COVID-19 is in a county that has been reduced with funding, COVID-19 has blessed us to be able to have access to funding. Let's talk about some of that funding and what we've been able to accomplish with that funding under your leadership.
So we call it too the blessing and the curse.
Yes, that's it, like technology.
Exactly. And it has given us many opportunities. We were fortunate enough to be a recipient of the American Rescue Plan funding under county, state, and local government funding source that we received. And we were able to get $5.8 million, for which it's helped us tremendously with some of the things that the county really needed here. It also helped us to do a lot of initiatives and help our citizens out as well, as well as our employees. And also, it opened up funding for the infrastructure funding source that's coming down, trillions of dollars, at our reach, and we just have to stay on top of it, pursue it. And these projects include, more infrastructure, water, broadband. Other things that we would like to move our county to, electrified charging stations, technology.
That's really like thinking ahead,
and
I'm gonna be honest with you, I haven't really heard a lot of people in the county talking about things like that.
That's right.
Even myself, I put myself on a hot seat. I would have never thought to bring charging stations here to Williamsburg County.
Yes.
So one of the things I do love about you is that you're a thinker, and you're visiting other spots and you're seeing how can we imitate that, duplicate that, and bring it back to Williamsburg County. Let's talk about broadband.
Okay.
Because I'm a Wi-Fi geek.
know,
I got to be
I know.
online. I got to connect with the people. And I tell people with the internet, there is no reason to be broke and there's no reason to be ignorant.
Exactly.
If you are broken ignorant with the internet, it's because you choose to, because we have technology at our fingertips and everybody has a cell phone. Let's talk about broadband though. You and the staff have managed to secure broadband at our community buildings where people in the rural part of Williamsburg County can actually come up to these buildings and access Wi-Fi. How did that happen? I mean, I know how it happened, but tell the people who are watching who may not know, how did that happen?
Well, just like when the pandemic hit, we knew that there were many places in Williamsburg County, number one, that didn't have access to it, and number two, couldn't afford it. So, we thought about, okay, how can we help our citizens get it out there to them, especially those that can't afford it?
Yeah.
So the community building initiative came to my brain, and I said, you know what, I think we can use the funding for it. So this funding is not at cost of the citizens, and it allows us to put devices inside the buildings and outside the buildings so that people can access good broadband, whether it's for school, using telemed. They can access it for free.
For free.
For free.
Well, what about those people who say with the American Rescue Plans, why can't we build a big recreational center with a pool and a tennis court? Why can't we fix the roads? Why can't we use that money for that?
So I love it when that question is posed to me because Williamsburg County has so many needs. And I know that there's funding out there other than what you get for your county allocation that can be utilized for those things, such as infrastructure. It will focus on the roadways and us being able to improve the roadways. Now, people want their roads paved, but at this time, the county does not have the staffing or the equipment to be able to maintain it. So it would be literally just shooting ourselves in the foot because after so many years, you're going to have to figure out how to fix, how to get those roads replenished. Right. And with a recreation park, we are in process of working with a group to have a state park in Williamsburg County.
I'm so excited about that.
And I'm excited about it.
Yeah.
So currently right now we have 18 parks in Williamsburg County.
It's plentiful.
Yeah, we don't have a shortage of parks, needless to say. So I didn't want to invest money in things that we already have, or is already coming down the pike for us. And I wanted to do something a little different.
And then not only that, the American Rescue Plan, that funding it's laid out in, I think you said 171-page doc,
Yes.
which if you're watching the council meetings every night, every meeting on YouTube, the website, or Facebook, you'll know that our supervisor has said, hey, you can have this documentation and you can see what that money is to be allocated for, and it's strict guidelines. You and I attended a meet and greet with Congressman Clyburn talking about Build a Better America.
That's right.
And I love it because, you were seated very close to him, which to me, that means a lot. Get in that ear and get some money.
I was shocked too. I was like, wow.
Get that money for Williamsburg County. And one of the things that I know you stood up and you were asking, hey, when do we get the funding for roads and for water and for drainage and for sewer systems?
Yes.
And so I just wanted people to know that you are allocating for funding for that.
Absolutely.
So that the citizens don't have to incur costs.
That's right.
Because we know no one wants taxes raised, right?
No.
No one.
One of the things that the Carolina floods taught us is that we don't have good drainage here. A study had been done in 1973.
Oh my goodness, before I was born.
Exactly. Do you know how long and how much development this county has gone through from 73 to now?
Wow.
So we partner with Georgetown County, and they did receive a grant to help do a drainage study so that we not only understand how the water is ran, but we now have an understanding of what we need to fix the problem. And I think that that's a big deal for Williamsburg County. So I was trying to, look at it on both sides. Okay, let me start looking for the money to fix it. And we already got the money to determine the problem. But we do realize that those issues are, significant for our citizens here in Williamsburg County.
And let me just say, I thank you for all the grants. That's one of the things you campaigned on the first time. You said I was going to go and secure grants so that we can lessen the amount of money that we pass on to our citizens. And you have been majorly successful in doing so. And I just want to say thank you so much. I know you sacrifice a lot of your personal time.
Oh, yes. Yes.
Because I've called you and you're like, I haven't been to bed yet. It's like, and I'm like, you're crazy.
I'm always talking about, I got a deadline. I got
a deadline. I got to get this grant in. And I thank you for that because people don't know behind the scenes all of the personal time and all of the things that you were sacrificing to put the county in a better situation. And so I want to acknowledge that. Listen, so we talked about some of your challenges when you first came in, COVID-19, hurricanes, the county being in a deficit. And with the county being in a deficit, I think it was nearly $1 million at that time in 2019.
Absolutely.
One of the things that had to be cut was recycling. And we know that that's the big hoopla right now is recycling. Why aren't we open 7 days a week? Well, when you took office in 2019, we weren't open 7 days a week. We weren't even open as much as we are right now. But all of a sudden, there's a big hoopla. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about why the recycling hours were cut. Well, let's talk about you taking office. Why did you increase the hours? Why were they cut? And where we're headed for right now with the recycling center. And let's go ahead and squash that lie about recycling centers in the state of South Carolina are open 7 days a week. There is no recycling center, not even the biggest counties like Greenville and Richland, that are open 7 days a week. So,
yes.
let's
So,
talk about that.
Oh my gosh, when we came in, like I said, in 2019 was like where the bottom dropped out, and that can that got kicked down the road.
It stopped moving.
Well, it landed in front of me, so and it landed there, and now we were responsible for figuring it all out. One of the things people don't understand is that the debt that we incurred before we took office was recurring debt. Meaning, if you solve the problem now, that debt is going to continue on down the line.
Yeah.
So yes, our deficit was $953,000. So let's just call it $1 million. And we had to figure out how to fix it. So we were correcting a budget that had been passed already, and we were working in the budget and now preparing at the same time for a new budget season. So we had to amend the 2017-2018 budget. And then we jumped into now, what are we gonna do for the 2018-2019 budget? So one of the things that we had to come up with was how are we going to reduce some of the costs? What are we going to do? Now, the first 4 options that were presented. Now, again, my job is not to approve the budget.
Right.
It's just simply to present the budget.
Absolutely.
If my members of council tell me, Tiffany, you have $22 million to spend and that's it, I have to make that stretch.
Mm-hmm.
And that's basically what my job is to figure out how we're going to make it stretch. So we ended up having to look, like I said, the first 4 options for balancing our budget. And what we mean by balance is that we got to make sure that we bring in enough money to pay for our expenses.
Right.
That's balancing it.
That's
okay?
balancing.
That's simple. And we ended up having to, again, first 4 options presented were that we had to reduce the work or cut the salaries of employees.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that would have been horrific for our employees, given the fact that they were already had issues with morale.
Mm-hmm.
So those were the 4 options, and none of those options at that time, that particular council accepted.
Right.
So we kind of was at a standstill. Also, we tried to implement a $40 fee,
Mm-hmm.
which would help, which would generate the exact amount of money that we needed to correct the deficit.
Mm-hmm.
However, that was voted down as well. So we ended up not passing a balanced budget to October, and I presented 8 other options.
Mm-hmm.
Within those options included property tax increases. It got down to the wire,
Mm-hmm.
literally days before, and I had heartburns. I literally couldn't sleep because I was thinking, you know what, these are mistakes that the group made, the council made, which is
Right.
now my problem.
Mm-hmm. You're the
And
face now.
That's right.
And oftentimes that is the problem. You're the face. It doesn't matter about
That's right.
the sitting council.
That's right.
You're responsible.
Right. So I literally, I'm gonna tell you, Sue, it hurt me to my heart to know that we would have to either sacrifice our employees or sacrifice our citizens for mistakes that were made.
Mm-hmm.
So I that last night I was pulling numbers together and I was like, if we cut here and maybe if we cut here. So I presented them with a different option.
Mm-hmm.
And within that option, it was reduction of the recycling center hours. It was also reduction of a hardware line item. The sheriff was gracious enough to give us a few of the money out of some of his positions. And then we ended up, pulling up the balance with some FEMA money one-time money that we were getting in. And that's what kind of saved the day. So that is what they voted on.
Right.
So, unfortunately, it again falls on me when the decisions are made.
Right, but you're right. The sitting council at that time voted to approve that budget, and in that budget was a reduction of the recycling center.
Yes.
But again, I want to note, even with that reduction of the recycling center hours, it was still open more so than it was in the previous years before you took office.
Correct.
And now all of a sudden it's a problem. Well, here's the thing. And this is my personal opinion. We have a landfill, thank God for that. We have recycling, I think we have 20 recycling centers in Williamsburg County. And we still have a litter problem. But it's not just Williamsburg County.
That's right.
It's a nationwide problem.
Exactly.
So even if we had the recycling centers open 24 hours a day, we would still have a problem with litter because it's a mindset thing with the people. And until we fix that, it doesn't matter. If you don't have pride, you're just going to dump.
That's right.
But what I do love about it is that you realize dealing with the mindset, it is a process. So you also offered a different alternative and you came up with the LCAT. Talk about that.
So we had been fighting litter, I kid you not, since 2010. I had been on litter teams with Senator Saab and Miss Leslie Spivey, and we've been fighting litter since, I know they've been fighting litter a longer time than that, but since 2010. And I thought, in order to get a handle on some of the issues with the litter, because people were complaining about it, and was to develop a team. First of all, it was just a committee team, that comprised of different people throughout the community. And we were all talk about ways and strategies that we can use to help change the behavior of litterers. And once we started establishing that, now it's like, okay, now we got to put boots on the ground to help us. So yes, when I received the funding from Palmetto Pride, which I'm thankful to our sheriff for allowing me to use it for that, And I was able to hire some people, and I saw that it made a difference.
It did.
So again,
They saw, because you were awarded a prestigious award.
Yes.
Tell us about that award. What was the name of it again?
It was 2 awards. One was for the state award for Palmetto. I believe it's Palmetto Award for dealing with or combating litter, and the second one was the Ladybug Award that was given out through Winsburg Chambers. Yeah. So I was very proud of that. But again, when you're in this role, you don't necessarily do stuff to be honored. You just do stuff because it's the right thing to do, and it needs to be done.
This is another one of your challenges was the Behavioral Health Center.
Yeah, wow.
Talk to us about that.
So that section, when our previous director, she retired a few weeks after, I think about a month or so after I took office, and unfortunately, there's an agency called DEODIS. They are the purse of an organization like that. Yes, the county does help with some funding.
Okay, when you say purse,
they're the funding source.
Gotcha.
They allocate the funding for these services to be performed in counties. And yes, the county does do an allocation, but it's not as much as that allocation. Right. So when we were not in compliance to some of the issues that they had noticed, then they ended up taking our funding from us, which for me just was like, I do realize we need this service here. And unfortunately, they were trying to recover, but it just wasn't fast enough.
Right.
And we had other issues, internal issues going on in there. And I thought, I don't know really what to do at this point, but I do know that as soon as we got the word that they were going to take the funding, they gave us a little notice. Immediately, I started negotiating with them to allow us to keep the facility, a facility in Winsburg County, open. Of course, they wanted to make sure we had tied up some of the issues that we had, and it was just a lot of conversation back and forth with myself and the regulatory agency. And I am so happy that I had people like Miss Sarah, who leads that charge. And she really understood the need that we had in Williamsburg County. So she was, kind of like, all right, well, we'll see if you can find another organization that's going to come in and provide it, then let us vet them out and we'll see. And sure enough, Circle Park came in. Yeah. And I've been negotiating with Circle Park and Georgetown County to get the services here. So she ended up thinking that Circle Park would be a better fit for Williamsburg County. So again, more negotiations, and it took us literally, we've been doing this ever since last year. So finally we got them to buy into the idea, and they ended up letting us know that, hey, just give, a few more documents, and now we need to figure out how we're going to do. So they took it to their board, and they agreed that they would provide those services in Williamsburg County. So I'm excited about it.
We are too, because I remember when you brought that to council, I was on council at the time, and that was really bothering you and council, as it should, because we have citizens that need those services. But I mean, what can you do when, again, the can's been kicked?
That's right.
And it lands in front of us.
That's right.
The only thing we can do is turn away from it or deal with it.
That's right.
And so I, again, thank you for dealing with it, because what people don't understand is that you as a supervisor do so much in this county. And I've had conversations with you often saying, how do you do it? I don't get it. But I thank you. And, you do the research, you do the negotiating, you do the building the bridge and building relationships with people, and then you bring it to the council.
That's right.
And we vote on it. But we're not oftentimes involved in that legwork. And so when you brought that to council meeting recently and said, we're opening back up. And what I really, really loved about it is that we know that King Street is the seat of Williamsburg County, but you wanted to spread the love, and you said, we're going to open it up in Hemingway, South Carolina at the Chavis Center, because typically everything comes to King Street, and we want to start to spread things around.
Yes.
So I'm excited about that.
Yes, I'm excited. I think it couldn't be a better fit.
Yeah.
Like I said, we just want to make sure we even us out here. We don't want everything to come to one area.
Listen, I know you are a lady on the go, as am I. And so I have 2 more questions, but I'm going to combine them, and then I'm going to let you go.
Okay.
So let's see. What are your plans for the next 4 years, and why should people vote you back into office?
Wow, that's a great question. I think for me is to finish up the projects that we've already started and to really embark on technology. technology and dealing with green technology is going to help this county out. We have to move from a mindset of we can't have to a mindset of how do we make the money that we do have make money for us. So investing in technology so that we don't have to deal with the issues that we faced when we were dealing with COVID, allowing for more things to become more automated. Looking for a 5-year and developing a 5-year comprehensive plan, because in county government, we've been reactive so long that we don't have the funds, we need to start saving now for 5 years down the line. So creating those plans, creating some zoning ordinances that's going to protect people in their residential space. Also, really one of the biggest things I'd like to really look at is to look for investment groups, finance groups, that I want people from Williamsburg County to spend their money on us improving Williamsburg County. We have a lot of facilities in Williamsburg County, primarily the one at Food Line. If we can get a few investors from Williamsburg County to trust in us, and we can do big things there. We can create our bowling alley and our skating rink, but we're going to have to work for ourselves because no one's going to just hand us money. So working with partners like that to see what we can bring entertainment-wise in the county is for me, is essential. Also, looking at and developing our affordable housing plan and improving upon that. Currently we have on the books that we're going to build 14 new houses. I'd like to expand that opportunity so that we can not only allow housing, bring housing here for our citizens to live in, but also businesses that are coming in. We'll see that we do have real estate available for them to live in a safe place. So it's closing that competitive gap. That's my next 4 years.
I love it. And I love the fact that you touched on investors coming in to build these businesses, because a lot of times people think that government can do that. Government cannot do that. There are incentives, like maybe tax incentives, but we cannot give you the money to fund those businesses. And I did some research, and one of the ways for small towns to thrive is to entice people to open up more small businesses. But that's just one part of the equation. The other part is the citizens need to patronize these businesses consistently in order for that money to continue to circulate in the community. So again, it all goes back to mindset. It all goes back to having certain things available. And I really love the green effort that you're working towards and affordable housing. That is near and dear to my heart. Another great thing is that you and I both sit on the business development board, and we know about all the things that are in the works. Unfortunately, we can't reveal it until it's done. But I really want to thank our business economic development team, Mr. Gillian Freisen, Ms. Deja Green, Ms. Bianca Wilson, and in working with us in the board and the other board members, because they've been able to bring corporations here and jobs here. So when people say that there are no jobs or no one's working towards that, understand that we are. But there's a big component that has to be filled. It needs to be affordable housing, needs to be great education, low crime rate, has to be community buy-in. There's so many different factors that go into it. But what I can say is that I think that we have people in place now that are really, really working towards moving the county forward and not shutting down great opportunities.
That's great.
And so with that, Dr. Cooks, Supervisor Williamsburg County, I'm going to turn it back to you and just let you say any last words you want to say before we end this interview.
So for me, these last 3 years and 4 months have been challenging. I'm not perfect. I'm gonna make mistakes. I have made mistakes. But what I do know is that any decision that I make is for the betterment of our citizens. It's never personal with me. I'm willing to sacrifice and have made many sacrifices to make sure that we maintained where we were and looking for us to expand in the future. We've had tough times. We've faced many challenges, and we have been able to get past them without it being a burden on our citizens by grace. That's all I can think of, because some stuff I was looking at, I was like, oh, I don't know how we can get through this. But by the grace of God, we were able to do it. So I am happy to serve our citizens of Williamsburg County, and I would like to continue to do that for the next 4 years.
And we would love, I'm speaking, and I'm prayerfully, I'm speaking for the majority of the people, we would love for you to continue that. So we're encouraging all citizens to make sure you get out and vote on June 14th. There is early voting, typically starts 30 days before June 14th, but I think it's going to be May 16th, early voting opens up. But make sure you get out and vote, and just know that Councilwoman Sueham supports this amazing supervisor 100%. Thank you so much for taking time out of your schedule.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
All right, make sure you vote.